Okay. Sexual reproduction, we shall start here. Sexual reproduction in some selected animals, vertebrates, of course, vertebrates. Hereafter, the first reproduction was sexual reproduction that we see is that of the frogs. Sexual reproduction in frogs. Therefore, here, before we directly dive into frog sexual reproduction, we have to be clear with this three terminologies. Three terminologies: oviparity, oviparous, viviparity, viviparous, ovoviviparous. What does it mean in terms of, as far as we are talking about sexual reproduction? These terminologies are very crucial. The first thing, oviparous. The term oviparous refers to those animals which lay eggs that develop outside the mother's body, just like birds, for example. Most birds, these animals, oviparous animals, lay eggs. Fertilization is internal. They lay eggs, and are the eggs are developing. Embryonic development occurs outside of the body of the female. For example, in case of birds, reptiles, and most fish, of course, most fish, there are, as far as fish is concerned, there are many different types of fish which are categorized under oviparous group, viviparous group, even ovoviviparous fishes are there. Therefore, there are most fishes belong to the oviparous category. Therefore, what does it mean? Oviparous means animals that lay eggs, and the egg undergoes embryonic development outside of the body of the female. The second is viviparous. Viviparity means animals give birth to live young with the embryo developing inside the mother's body, just like humans. Complete embryonic development occurs inside the mother's body, the womb, uterus, just attached to the wall of the uterus through placenta, and gets nutrition from the mother directly from the mother's circulatory system. Nutrition comes through placenta, it goes to the developing embryo, and the embryo undergoes complete development inside the mother's body. This is what we call viviparous. Viviparous. The third is it seems a combination of, so of course, not strictly speaking combination. For example, viviparous animals are humans, dogs, cats. Mammals are viviparous, placental mammals. The third, ovoviviparous. In this case, the eggs are incubated inside the mother body, and the young are born alive. You see, these animals are, strictly speaking, they are oviparous. That means they lay eggs, but they don't uh, lay eggs outside. They keep the egg inside. The egg has yolk, and the embryo is not directly getting the nutrition from the mother's circulation. Just it uses the yolk, the nutrition that is already in the egg. The only difference from the uh, oviparous group is the eggs are incubated inside the body of the mother. Otherwise, the egg have complete nutrition for itself, which is yolk sac. It has yolk, and it uses that yolk in the egg in order to undergo embryonic development. The difference is the incubation occurs inside the body of the mother, and um, when it completes its embryonic development, the mother gives birth, not strictly the birth that we observe in viviparous animals, just the embryo, the developed embryo enclosed in a sac is released outside in order to further develop. Therefore, ovoviviparous animals are animals whose eggs are incubated inside the body of the female. Incubation takes place inside them. In case of viviparous, the egg is attached to placenta to the wall of the uterus, and nutrition is obtained from the mother circulation directly. In case of ovoviviparous, the nutrition is already stored in the egg yolk. The difference is that the egg is incubated inside the mother's body. Then you can see here typical example, also known as this ovoviviparous animals are also known as aplacental yolk sac viviparous. Aplacental. Placenta. They don't have placenta. There is no formation of placenta. There is no uh, the embryo is not when the embryo is developing. It's not parasitic on the female circulatory system or on the female's body. Just it has its own nutrition enclosed in the yolk sac. It uses that yolk sac. The yolk sac is together with the egg there. It uses the yolk sac in order to develop, in order to undergo embryonic development, so that when it completes embryonic development, the mother releases the developed embryo outside. And this is typical of some sharks and also snakes. Snakes. I do have a video. Any interested personality can use. I will give you the videos. Even you can go to the YouTube, the search for ovoviviparous snakes or sharks, so that you can see live birth while these animals are undergoing live birth or giving birth to their babies. And therefore, I think you are clear with this terminologies, the three terminologies. Oviparous, they lay eggs outside, the egg undergoes development outside the body of the female. Viviparous, these animals give birth. Just think of yourself, humanity, and you will give birth to live young, and the baby grows being totally parasitic on the mother's circulatory system or for nutrition. Ovoviviparous, its egg. This egg has its own yolk sac, already prepared food. It uses that yolk sac without being parasite on the mother's body. And the only difference from those oviparous animals is that in ovoviviparous animals, the embryonic development occurs inside the female's body. Now, I think your textbook talks a little about biogeography of some frogs. Yes, at the beginning of your textbook, there are some biogeographies or geographical distribution of some frogs. This is one frog. I don't know why they included it. I don't know. This is endemic to the European mainland, especially Scotland. Little on frog geographical distribution. The common frog, they call it a grass frog, Rana temporaria, is the most common for frog in Europe, if you like. I have also added the diagram picture also in order for you to identify. The other, this frog, you see, this is also common in Ethiopia. Another grass frog known as Tachadne Galanger is found throughout the sub-Saharan Africa. This is also common in Ethiopia, sub-Saharan Africa, including Ethiopia. These frogs are also common to the Bali Shoa forests, Bali mountains, Shoa forests. Frogs such as Tacharle Harena and Leptopolis ragazi are found in the Bali mountain, Shoa forests in Ethiopia. These are common. And since we are going to talk about reproduction in these organisms, the frogs, I think that's not bad knowing some of our own, especially. Okay, now we are going to the root of this section, that is sexual reproduction in frogs. Sexual reproduction in frogs. By the way, to which group do we include frogs? To oviparous, viviparous, or ovoviviparous? Frogs lay eggs, of course, outside. Outside. Development occurs outside. Therefore, they belong to the oviparous group. Oviparous group. The embryo undergoes development outside of that. Of course, in case of frogs, even fertilization is also outside. In most cases, fertilization is outside. I will show you how outside fertilization in water aquatic environment takes place. Therefore, when it comes to sexual reproduction in frogs, we have to begin with this sexual dimorphism. Have you heard about this phrase sexual? What does it mean? Sexual dimorphism. Most sexually reproducing organisms, you know, do have separate sexes, male and female. The male and female do have differences, starting from anatomical difference, biochemical difference, physiological difference. You see, that is known as sexual dimorphism. Anatomical difference, external difference, internal difference. Internal, even we do have biochemical difference. For example, in case of humans, the human biochemistry, in the human biochemistry, the male biochemistry is run. The reproductive male biochemistry is run by male hormone, androgen testosterone. The female's sexual biochemistry is run by estrogen, the female hormone, the dominant female hormone, you see. Therefore, this is difference. This is sexual dimorphism. And in case of frogs, sexes are separate and exhibit sexual dimorphism. Sexes are separate. In some animals, especially lower animals, particularly the invertebrates, you may obtain an organism, just one organism with both sexes, hermaphroditism, both sexes. Therefore, an individual organism can fertilize its own egg by its own sperm. This is just single organism is involved in its own sexual reproduction. When it comes to those organisms with separate sex, male, female, separate sex, these two sexes are showing dimorphism. That means they are different in their physical morphology, physical appearance, and also biochemistry, physiology. We do have these differences, and this difference is known as sexual dimorphism. And have well-developed male and female reproductive system. The male contains male reproductive system, the female contains female reproductive system. The reproductive system is the only system in animals made of many systems. The only system that is different in male and female is the reproductive system. When you talk about reproductive system of the male, you talk about testes. The primary male reproductive system is testes. What is the role of testes? Of course, testes is involved in the production of sperm cells and the male hormone. Yep, these are the two roles of the testes. When you go to the female, the primary sexual organ of the female is the egg producing factory, that is oval. Not only egg, but also produces the female hormone. Therefore, this is one aspect of sexual dimorphism. We are different. The male and female are different in many aspects. Different in many aspects. Even if you like body size, and even internal reproductive system difference in physiology, difference in biochemistry. Therefore, all these are together known as sexual dimorphism. Frogs need a pool of water. For reproduction, the frogs need a pool of water or aquatic environment, stagnant water that is not running. Water at rest. They need it for the eggs to be deposited, get fertilized, and developed into adults. Do you know why? Do you know why frogs need aquatic environment, or at least an environment near to water where there is huge moisture? Yep, because the eggs are laid, the frog eggs are laid without membrane covering. Just like bird's egg or the eggs of reptiles like snake egg, and crocodile egg. These are covered by shade, either hard shade in case of birds or leathery shade in case of reptiles. These are protections. The egg will not lose its water easily if it is laid in on land, in dry place. It's safe. When it comes to frog eggs are not covered by protective membrane. So if laid in dry environment, they easily desiccate, dry out, ይደርቃል። ሜምብሬን ከቨሪንግ የለውም። በጄሊ ማስ የተሸፈነ ነው። ጄሊ ማስ ዝልግልግ ጄሊ ማስ I will show you I don't have እና ዝልግልግ በሆነ ግዙፍ ፈሳሽ ውስጥ ነው ተንሳፎ የሚጥሉት እንቁላሉን የሚጥሉት ፍሮጎቹ እና ሃርድ ከቨሪንግ ሼል የለውም። ስለዚህ ለኢቫፖሬሽን የተጋለጠ ነው የሚሆነው። ደረቅ መሬት ላይ ቢጥሉት ይሄን እንቁላል በቀላሉ ኢቫፖሬት ያደርጋል። ውሃ ከሌለ ህይወት የለም። የህይወት ትልቁ ሰብስታንስ ውሃ ነው። ውሃ አለመኖር አለ። የውሃ መጠኑን ከቀነሰ እንቁላሉ ኢንኩቤት አያደርግም፣ ወደ ልጅነት ሜታሞርፎዝ አያደርግም። this is a big problem. Therefore that's why frogs ውሃ ጋር ነው ወንድየው ሄዶ ነው ውሃ ጋር ነው ድምጽ የሚያሰማው። ቮካላይዜሽን አለ። የእንቁራሪት ድምጽ አሰሙ ወይም አልቀራችሁ ውሃ ያለበት ስፍራ ሄዶ ነው ወይም እርጥበት አዘደው ነው ስፍራ ሄዶ ነው ኮርት የሚያደርገው። ኮርት ሺፕ እነሱ ኮርት የሚፈላለጉበትና የሚጠራሩበትና ለሴክስ ለሪፕሮዳክሽን የሚቀጣጠሩበት አንዱ መገናኛቸው ኮርትሺፕ ሜተዳቸው ቮካላይዜሽን ነው የሚባለው። ቮካላይዜሽን በድምጽ ነው፣ ወንዱ ነው ድምጽ የሚያወጣው። please my darling, I am here, please, if you are ready, come and let's enjoy the የሪፕሮዳክሽንን በረከት ኢንጆይ እናድርገው። ዘራችን እንዳይጠፋ ነው። ኮሚኒኬሽን ጀስት when it comes to reproduction ሰው ልጅ ብቻ ነው ሴክስን ከሪፕሮዳክሽን ውጪ ኤክስፕሎይት ያደረገው እንጂ አንዳንድ ስታዩት በኢሞራል በሆነ መንገድ otherwise all other animals use sex primarily for reproduction። ያጋስመጣ ሴክስ ንግድም ሆኗል፣ ሴክስ ፖለቲካም ነው ያለው። that's it. Otherwise all other animals except human being, all other animals use sex primarily as a means of reproduction. Therefore they are calling each other honestly for reproduction to keep the species continue in this planet. Now when it comes to frogs, frogs need a pool of water. Even some frogs build their pool of water ጭቃውን ባፋቸው እንትሎ በእጃቸው እየገፉ ትንሽዬ ኩሬ ይሰራሉ። ይሄ አኳቲክ ውሃ ያለበት ስፍራ ላይ ሄደው ያቺ ኩሬ ውስጥ ነው ውሃ አለች፣ እዛች ውስጥ ነው እንቁላሏን የሚጥሏት። እንትን ይሰራሉ፣ የራሳቸውን ጎጆ ይሰራሉ። ጎጆ ነው የሚባለው ኔስት፣ መድ ኔስት ነው በጭቃ የተሰራች ትንሽዬ ኩሬ እንቁላሊቶች ይሰራሉ። ያቺ ነች መድ ኔስት ነው የሚሏት፣ በጭቃ የተሰራች ጎጆ። እዛች ውስጥ እንቁላሏን ጥላለች ማለት ይተቃቀፋሉ። አምፕሌክሰስ የሚባል አለ። I will show you. ስለዚህ what is the answer for this? Frogs need a pool of water for the eggs to be deposited. ዲፖዚት ማድረግ አለ ብቻ አይደለም፣ get fertilized and embryo እድገቱ እንዲቀጥል ውሃ ያስፈልጋል የግድ። why? You can have one, the eggs that frogs lay are. Look, this is another terminology you should know. አናምኒዮቲክ ነው ይለዋል። የእንቁራሪቶች እንቁላል አናምኒዮቲክ ኤግ ነው። ምን ማለት ነው? አምኒዮቲክ ሜምብሬን የለውም ማለት ነው። አምኒዮቲክ ሜምብሬን እንቁላሉን ሸፍኖ ከድርቀት የሚከላከል የላይኛው ከቨር ነው አምኒዮቲክ ሜምብሬን። ኢቭን ሼሉን ሁሉ ይጨምራል ሼል ያላቸው ላይ። ኦኬ አምኒዮቲክ ሜምብሬን ከሌለው አናምኒዮቲክ እንለዋለን። አምኒዮቲክ ሜምብሬን ካለው አምኒዮቲክ the organisms are known as anamniotic organisms or anamniotes እንላቸዋለን። ኦርጋኒዝም አናምኒዮቴስ። ለምሳሌ ፍሮግ ምንድነች? አናምኒዮቴስ ነች። ኦኬ አናምኒዮቴስ ዋይ ፍሮግስ ላይ eggs covered by a jelly mass not by protective amniotic covering እነዚህ ምንድነው ችግራቸው? ከውሃ ርቆ ከተጣለ ይሄ እንቁላል በቀላሉ ለዴሲኬሽን ጋለጣል። what is desiccation? excess evaporation and loss of water. desiccation excess loss of water. ሁለተኛው ጥቅሙ ምንድነው? ሁለተኛው ፍሮጎች ውሃማ አካባቢ ወይም ውሃ ውስጥ ብቻ እንቁላላቸውን የሚያኖሩበት ምክንያት ላርቫ ሲሆን ኤግ ወደ ላርቫ ሲቀየር ላርቫው ምንድነው? the larva is aquatic. in case of frogs the larva is aquatic. የሚያድጉበት ሜካኒዝም ሜታሞርፎሲስ ነው። the egg changes into larva. the larva is aquatic. ለውሃ ነው አዳፕቴሽን ያለው። ጊሎች አሉት። ኤክስተርናል ጊል አለው። ታርፖል ነው የሚባለው የፍሮግ ላርቫ ጊሎች አሉት። ኤክስተርናል ጊልስ ውሃ ውስጥ ያለው ኦክሲጅን ብሪዝ ለማድረግ ነው የተፈጠረው። በቃ ጀስት ስለዚህ ከውሃ ውጪ ሊሆን አይችልም ይሄ ትራንስፎርሜሽን። the transformation from egg into larva can't occur without water. so why? because the larva is aquatic, perfectly aquatic. በጣም የተለያዩ እንስሶች ናቸው ላርቫውና አዳልቱ ነው። አዳልቱ የመሬት ነው። ለዚህ ኮሮ አምፊቢያንስ የምንላቸው በሁለቱም ነዋሪ ማለት ነው። በላርቫ መልክ ውሃ ውስጥ ይኖራል። ከውሃ ኦክሲጅን እየወሰደ ውሃ ውስጥ ምግቡን እየቀረመ ይኖራል ታርፖል። አዳልት ስትሆን መሬት ላይ ትላትሉን ኢንሴክቱን እየበላች ትኖራለች። መሬት አኳቲክ terrestrial. that's why amphibians, animals which live both in water and land. how in water? in the form of larva. how on land? in the form of their adult. okay this is it. ስለዚህ ላርቫው መኖሪያው የግድ ውሃ ስለሆነ እንቁላሉ ውሃ ውስጥ መጣል አለበት። therefore thus reproduction usually occurs in or near aquatic environments. if you are asked why do frogs lay their eggs in aquatic environments, if you are asked, tell these two reasons. One, the egg that frogs lay is an amniotic egg. What does it mean? It is type of egg which is not covered by protective external covering, which is known as amniotic membrane. Two, when the egg changes to larva, the larva requires aquatic environment because the larva is adapted to live in water. It has external gills. It finds its food in the water. Otherwise, it is impossible for the egg to transform into larva, or if it can transform into larva, the larva will not survive very long. This is the reason. First, in the reproduction process. Now we are going to reproduction. First, in the reproduction process of frogs or any other sexually reproducing organisms, we will talk a lot about animal behavior ethology. The last part of this unit, courtship, animal behavior is also included in this text, in this unit. Courtship call. You see, I have told you earlier, frogs, the male frog produces a sound during reproductive seasons, especially after rain, immediately after the end of the rainy season. The male finds an aquatic environment and produces a sound, courtship call. The male frog produces the courtship call in a pond or pool of water. When the male and the female of a species come together in aquatic environments, the male mounts on the female and holds her with its limbs, especially the back limb. A condition known as amplexus. There is no sexual intercourse. There is no penis. Both have cloaca. Even there is what we call in birds. Even only a few birds to have penis, which can be inserted into the cloaca of the female. A few birds. I will show you. When it comes to frogs, both frogs, female and male, do have cloaca. Cloaca is passageway for urinary waste or digestive waste, and also passageway for sperm and egg. When the male mounts on the female, sits on the back of the female in such a position, look, this is the position, amplexus, there is no contact. There is no contact between cloacal aperture of the male and female. Simply sit there. When it holds her abdomen with its back limb, it stimulates the female to release eggs. Release eggs. This position helps the female. You can easily see the sexual dimorphism. One big difference here. Yeah, sexual dimorphism. Look at the female and the male in terms of size. Look, the female is very, very, very big. The male is very small compared to the female. Imagine. Huh? Nature made this sexual dimorphism because of reason. This big size of the female's body allows the female to produce huge number of eggs. Huge number of eggs. You see? In order to increase their survival, the female produces huge number of eggs. Why? Because it is laid in the water. There are many animals which feed on the egg of the frogs, even fish feed. Very nice breakfast or lunch or dinner for many animals. Therefore, in order to increase their survival advantage, they have to lay a large number of eggs, frogs. For this purpose, the females are larger in size, bigger in size. This is one aspect of sexual dimorphism. Anyway, let's come to this point. This is amplexus. This position. The male is on top of the female, holds her abdomen with its back limb. This stimulates the female to release its egg, and immediately the male releases its sperm. So the sperm and the egg meet in the aquatic environment. Aquatic environment. There, fertilization is external, and development is also external. Therefore, there is no sexual intercourse. There is no contact between the cloacal aperture, anus, or we don't call anus, we call it cloacal aperture. There is no contact there. Therefore, simply they hold each other just like this, so that the chance of the egg being fertilized by the sperm is increased, in this case, amplexus. Okay, now the reproductive system of frogs. Let me show you. Reproductive system. Let's go deep into reproductive process. The reproductive system of frogs. First, we shall talk about male reproductive system. The male. You can see simple. Male reproductive system. There are two. There are two testes, left and right testes. Testes. It is found attached with the kidney. The kidney. There are these structures are the male reproductive structures. This testes vas efferentia. You can see these tubes, 10, 11, 12 tubes, which run just from testes to the around the kidneys, and then by the canal there is one canal which is connected with vas efferentia by the canal. Then this by the canal connected with ureter. Ureter is goes for passage of sperm and urine. Ureter, then cloaca. This is cloaca. You see, urinary waste, and urinary waste is deposited here. It comes out of the body. First, have to pass cloaca, and digestive waste. Digestive waste comes through this. Therefore, you see, cloaca is a space which serves as passageway for urinary waste, digestive waste, as well as the male's sperm in case of the male. The male's sperm also comes. The male's sperm also comes, passes out. This is known as cloacal aperture. Therefore, cloaca is common passageway for sperms, urine, and digestive feces or digestive waste. These are structural parts of the male. Therefore, how can the sperms produce heat? Sperms are produced heat. They pass through vas efferentia. Vas efferentia join to form Biders canal. At the back of this kidney, there is Biders canal. Biders canal connected with ureter, ureter, cloaca, cloaca outside. Finished. It's not that much complicated. Okay. Then testes are oval, yellowish organs connected to the kidney and also to the inner surface of the dorsal bodiole by mesochium, mesochium or mesochium. It's a connective tissue part. It's a connective tissue that holds the testes to the kidney, attached testes. Therefore, the testes is attached to the kidney, attached to the kidney by connective tissue. It is also attached to the wall of the body by mesochium. Testes are made up of seminiferous tubules. Similar, seminiferous tubules. The human testis is also composed of seminiferous tubules. What are seminiferous tubules? It is here that sperm cells are produced. Highly coiled tubes inside which sperm production takes place in the testis. The exact site of sperm production is seminiferous tubules for producing sperms. Then from each testis, you see, from each testis, 10 to 15 small ducts known as vas efferentia come out on the sides of the kidney and open to the Biders canal. Imagine, testis produces sperm. From each testis, 10 to 15 small ducts or tubes which come together and join Biders canal and finally communicate with the urogenital duct. In this case, urogenital. That means urine passes, it serves as passage for urine as well as passage for sperm, ureter and cloaca. It passes first into ureter, then cloaca, from cloaca through cloacal aperture outside of the body in aquatic environment during amplexus, of course. The urogenital duct comes out of the kidney and into the cloaca. Male cloaca is known as urogenital tract as it receives urine as well as sperms, yes. Male cloaca. Urogenital tract, yes. Because it passes waste material of urine or kidney, that is urine, and also it passes sperm cells that come from testes. Mass of sperms released out by male during amplexus, we call it milt. Have you heard about this? Milt. When we talk about the mass of eggs released by the female during amplexus, we call it spawn. Spawn. Spawn and milt come together in the water to produce fertilized egg. Milt for the male. Male. When you say male, it begins with the letter M. Milt. The letter M. Therefore, easy to remember. Milt is the mass of sperms released by the male during amplexus. Otherwise, the mass of eggs released by the female, gel-covered eggs released by the female, known as spawn. You can see the reproductive system of the female. Now we shall go to the female reproductive system. This is one diagram that shows you the female also contains two ovaries. Two ovaries. These ovaries are also near the kidneys, as you observe. Then oviductus tubes that connect, in this case, quite different from the male. These are the oviductus. From this part up to this part, oviduct. Then ovisac. This is ovisac. Then this is cloaca, because urinary, urine waste, digestive waste, as well as egg also all pass through this cloaca. Cloaca is common passageway for the egg, for the urine, for the digestive waste. Also, if you like, I do also have another diagram. You can see it here better.